Hello!
Hello!
Welcome to the Leader Games. What are we calling it now?
Studio chat.
Studio chat. Thank you very much. I'm almost 49. In fact, it will be next week. So
happy birthday.
I forget the little details. I am joined today by Anne, who is our production and logistics director of production and logistics, and of course I'm Patrick Leader, owner of Leader Games. Cole was going to be here today for me in this seat, but Cole's taking a rest after Gamma, and so I've agreed to step in. So and so we're here. We're going to do the usual studio chat stuff, and then we're going to talk about production.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah,
at
production stuff.
Studio, which is exciting. I am less involved with production than I used to be, so and maybe I'll just ask all softball questions now.
Yeah.
So it'll be great. So Anne, could you give us a little bit of your biography for the people who don't know you?
Yeah, so I mostly do art production stuff, so I've been doing that for a little while in the industry. I joined Leader almost 2 years ago now.
What?
Almost.
No way.
Oh, no, 1.5. 1.5.
Oh, that's fine.
That's right. 1.5 years ago. But yeah, I deal with basically the production of all the physical parts of our games so that you can, take the things our creative staff make and actually go buy the physical thing on a shelf. So everything that gets us from like the digital files to that. So I do quoting, I do the production stuff, I work with our factories, I work with shipping our stuff from our factories to our different hubs and getting testing. And then I also work with our international partners to translate our games into other languages. So that's kind of the scope of what I do in the company.
How many languages are we in now?
Oh, I think 9 or 10 at this
10
moment.
languages?
Yeah, I think it depends. Root is the one that we have the most people doing, but I think we're at 10.
Oh, okay.
I think we're at 10.
That's good. And a lot of countries.
A lot of countries. A lot of countries across the world carry Root, which is great. I love to see it in different languages. I love to see people playing it in different places.
Yeah, that's so cool. People ask me, have you thought about going into the markets? I'm like, yeah, we're
there.
We're like way ahead of you.
We're there.
Yeah, wherever you are.
You can find us across the world in all sorts of local game stores.
Yeah, so cool. And then you want to talk a little bit about your earlier career, or?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I worked. So I started in the board game industry. Well, first I had a career in picture framing. So I was a museum high quality picture framer for a while, and then I started working.
I don't know if I remember that part.
Yeah, that was my first career.
Yeah.
And then I started working for Asmodee North America as a production coordinator. I worked with Z-Man Games on Pandemic and all sorts of stuff for a while. Also with FFG a little bit. And then after that, I worked for Pandasaurus Games for a year as their production manager. And then this came open, and I had 2 friends who worked at Leader, and it was a very cool place. So I was like,
where are they?
let's come over here.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I love it. It's great here.
I worked here last year. So I'm
I
here
know.
This year.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
that's mine. So, normally about now we talk about what games we've been playing.
Yeah,
which is going to be interesting. So let's hear.
Yeah, I know. I wrote a sticky note because
I forgot to make a list.
I had to think about what I had been playing, because I actually haven't been playing a lot the last 2 weeks because I've been traveling. I was also at Gamma.
Did you play anything at Gamma?
I didn't play. I did play stuff at Gamma, but it was stuff that I had already played.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Or it was stuff I've played a lot.
All right, what's on your list?
So the first thing was we got to play Earthborn Rangers recently.
Oh, yeah.
Which I know we've talked a lot about, so I won't spend a lot of time on that. But it was super fun. It was really cool. We got a special local visit, friends of the studios. They came by and did a demo for us, and that was super duper fun and really cool. And I knew a lot of the folks from FFG, so it was really cool to see them and see sort of their new stuff. And yeah, that was really fun to play. I'm going to pick up a copy, so highly recommend it if you're looking for a fun card game, very similar to the vein of stuff you might have liked from the same folks at FFG.
I backed it.
You backed it? Oh, you backed it? Yeah. Oh, nice. Okay, well, there we go.
Friends of the studio.
Yes.
Yeah, so cool. Any video games?
Yeah, I've actually been playing a couple things. I've been playing this very chill little game called Chill Aquarium.
Chill Aquarium.
Which is basically just you buy some fish and then you wait for them to grow up and then they make you money and then you buy more little pixel fish. And it's very chill, just like the name suggests. But I've been playing that, and then I've been replaying Pokemon Legends of Arceus. Recently I restarted that. Because I don't know why, but Pokemon is a winter game. Yeah. Okay. This is a Switch one. It's the like open world, old-timey one.
I'm just listing what I've been playing, and I was amused by myself for a moment.
But yeah, I always play Pokemon in the winter for some reason.
Well, that makes sense. So I have been playing Daybreak. The cooperative game about sustainable future, which is great. I really like it. It's funny because the first couple 2 games I played, I was like, okay, I think I know the strategy. I think I'm gonna win this game. And then like many games since then have proven to me that I did not know everything. And so like I've been learning like new ways to like kind of unfold the problem. So that's been a lot of fun. And I wouldn't say they're superior ways. The game is all about like using what you got at the moment, and so which I like a lot as an optimization problem. So working on that. We played a lot of Thunder Road in the studio while you were gone.
I heard. I was very jealous last week. I heard from a bunch of people that they played, and it was really fun. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. So yeah, we had. I tried to bring it in today, but I also had to carry my child's trumpet to the bus stop. So I was like starting to do this out of the house. And I was like, nah, I think I better just carry one or the other.
You have to make your choice.
Yeah. Why'd we carry the trumpet today? It is Tuesday. Okay. Yeah. And then I've been playing D&D. So I've been running my kid and their friends through a D&D campaign, and then I've been playing DCC with my friends at the actual D&D game at night and on Saturday. So yeah, it was fun. We've been playing The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, which is a 5e campaign.
I haven't really read that much about that one.
It's great. It starts out with a carnival run by fairies, and it really reminds me of like Ray Bradbury, like the middle Ray Bradbury of like, there's just this, it's like the carnival's just this ultimate like place where anything could happen, sort of moment, yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's great. For video games, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. I picked up this new game called Summer House.
I played the demo for that. Yeah, it was really fun.
If you played the demo, you've played the whole game. So I picked up, the main release came out, and I was like, for $4, I gotta support this guy. All you do is you click pieces into a house on one of 4 vistas that you can choose from. Yep. And then the house doesn't do anything. It's just an art piece. It's just like that. There's that game about building a town where you just click on it. And
like Townscaper.
Townscaper,
that's also, I love Townscaper.
Do you want to build a hotel? Sure. Do you want to build a retail store? Sure. Do you want to build a huge house? Go for it. Or just put some picnic chairs out on a lawn. It's okay. Do whatever you want. So,
it's really cool. I had, I follow a lot of artists online, and I saw a lot of people using those as, like, backgrounds to draw things on. Oh, yeah. Like, as, like, a sketching, exercise. And I thought that was a really neat way to use it.
And then my son and I have been trekking back through all the Kirby games on the Switch.
Oh, that's super fun.
Yeah, it's great.
Who doesn't love a Kirby game?
It's fun to play with him because if you or I were playing Kirby, we'd be like, if we were playing it together, we'd be like, okay, let's go to this level. Let's go to this level. Let's go to this level. Oh, we didn't get everything on that level. Let's go back and do that level. Okay, now we do this level. We just very scientifically go through the whole game. And he's just like, I want to do this level now. Whoop, and then we're off doing that level. So it's fine.
No, it's like the non-linear game playing where you're like, whatever looks interesting. Yeah. There's a butterfly. Great. Going that way.
That's my son. So, yeah. All right, well, studio news. Do you want to talk about Arks?
Yeah, let's talk about Arks.
So what's going on with the Arks right now?
So Arks is the first group of Arks stuff is on the boat. We are still waiting for the campaign game to finish production because it is more complicated than any of the other 3. And that one is still finishing up, and then it'll go on the boat in like a week or 2 weeks. So it's all happening. It's all headed here. Our little babies are coming home to roost. So
Our very big,
our very large sons are coming home to roost. But yeah, it's very exciting that's going to finish their production, and it's all looking really good. And I don't know, maybe you'll get to see it a little bit in a little bit. But yeah, Arks is going really well. We're really excited to get it and to send it out to people.
What's happening in 2 weeks? All right.
I don't know. All I see is boat.
All right. Yeah, that's like maybe we don't have the right eyesight for this. For this,
No, I don't.
I
can't read her.
I have a doctor's appointment coming. I'm going to get a new prescription soon. So yeah, so Arks is on the boat. We're about to get the campaign. We'll start shipping. So I'm very excited that we're gonna have it shipped. I can't. I'm not gonna say timeline, but we know the timelines. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So.
I'll probably start,
Yes, I can run.
just make it big.
Thanks. Perfect.
Thanks, y'all, for our weak eyes.
Yeah, sorry. So, what were you saying?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that people we should be in, like, early summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, cool. And then Ahoy, how's Ahoy going?
Ahoy's doing well. We, Nick and I met a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. What is time? And talked about the specs for Ahoy, and sort of this is an interesting point where we're kind of solidifying exactly what like little pieces go in the box, how many of them are, what are the color counts, what are the designs, like those sorts of things. And so we went through that, and I just need to finish up some stuff and double check it with them, and then we should be able to see some pricing, which is important, and get everything ready so our graphic design team and Kyle can make some pretty art and some pretty components for you.
Let's all say hello to Lily, who is a friend of the studio also.
Oh, hi, Lily.
And then I'm on the other. I'm not doing anything with production right now. I'm in early design. Not early. I don't know where we're at.
You're in design.
We're in design. It's
You're in dev.
early. We're not like writing down new stuff, but we're working on a little game called Opus, which is a co-op game about robots in a lab, and it's hard. It's been fun, but it's a big project for me, and I'm enjoying it. But it's there's a lot to do, and I'm very hopeful. Last week we had a good let's shed as much as we can from the design and start out from the first the original principles again and move across into slowly add things back in until we see a point of failure, and then start adding stuff back in, and that was a good moment. I think I'm pretty hopeful about the current design. So I don't have a timeline for it yet, though. So people will see it when they see it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more, and we won't.
And then we won't. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna. All right. Well, let's. It says on my sheet we should talk about Arks production now. So we want to talk about Arks production.
Yeah, let's just talk a little bit about it. So the Arks was the first new project that I've worked at later, and I came in probably about halfway through its lifetime. It's dev production thing, so it was really interesting because so much of it had been, there was so much thought that had already gone on in the studio before I got to it. But then at the end, with production, I'm not involved very beginning. I might do some quoting, and then I disappear often for 6 months on a project. And then I come in when people are finishing up stuff or we're solidifying componentry. And so that's where I really got started, especially working with Cole and Patty, our graphic designer, for the last 6 months. And Arks is a really interesting production because the campaign is pretty complex. It's not super complex, but it has a lot of stuff in it. And in comparison to the complexity of the base game, which I would say in a production standpoint is more similar to Root.
Oh, the cards being in order in a box.
Yeah.
It scares and Opus will need it.
Yeah.
And Castle Blood was going to need it.
Yeah.
Or if we get back to it. And
yeah.
and I was it's Yeah, it scares me.
Yeah, and like, you know, we've got in the campaign box, like there's lots of trays and lots of other stuff, and so that took a lot of, it just took a lot of testing. Like we had, I think, like 3 samples made of the tray, and just different things. We also did a lot of stuff that never even got to sampling at the factory. It was stuff that we just made in-house,
right? And
we're just testing out these different ways that we were gonna organize the components, and you know, definitely the campaign box, you know, a lot more of that than the base box, which doesn't have that sort of complexity in a production. So it just took us a long while to get to the thing that we really liked, because we want to make something nice and useful and like works well. And
sure. So can you elaborate a little bit on, so you're doing, I know I'm familiar with RFQ, or request for quote.
Yeah.
So can you walk people through what that process is for them?
Yeah, so I said an RFQ is called a request for quote. So what I do first is I create what's called a spec sheet. And a spec sheet is a list of all the physical componentry that's in a game. So in like Root, it would be like all the cards, it would be the meeples, it would be the tray that's in there, it would be, you know, that box has a liner on the inside, so the printed inside of the box. So I have to list out all those components and the way that they're printed and how many of them there are and how they should be packed.
And how many extraneous plastic bags there will be?
Yeah, how many plastic bags should the factory throw in there? So I do that, and then I'll usually confirm that with the creative team, and then I will send it into the factory, and then we get pricing. And then if it's the first quote for a project, it means we then are like, okay, well, should we make this because of how expensive it is, or like, should we rethink something, or should we... Or, you know, it might be we change the profile of of what it looks like later on. Like Ahoy has gone through a couple different iterations of like what exactly is in each box, like what those look like. But once it gets like more narrowed down to like, okay, this is what we're going to do. These are how these components are going to be put in boxes, or how like the profile of a different product is going to be. Then I do like much more nitty gritty, have to make sure everything's correct, have to make sure like all the things are specified. We have to make a spec sheet for the wood or the plastic, which that's a lot of me working with the creative team at that time to make sure that like whatever they want and they envision is the thing that they actually get. And then there's some compromise with like, of course, we're a business, so price is there as well. Yeah. Like we do have to think about that. But a lot of times it's like, well, how much stuff can we put in this box for this price? You know, if you've ever opened Root, you know we love to stuff a box full of stuff. And like how do we get the nicest stuff in the box and like the best version of it in the box?
Yeah, I don't know how other studios operate, but there is a space that we operate in. I feel that like creative can advocate for a full box. Stuff, and you can advocate for you. Your job isn't to say, let's edit this for the sake of getting the price down.
No, that's not my job.
Your job is to say, how do I get the price down with what's there?
Yeah, with what we want.
And then it's more like my job or Ted's job to be like, well, sorry, but we gotta, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever scaled back anything in my life, but
no.
Yeah.
There were some changes with Arks from when I first came in. It was more like a little bit of an uncertainty of like what exactly we wanted, but it was more like we hadn't creatively decided. Right. And so like the final pricing wasn't able to be done because we weren't quite sure what we wanted. And that's more what happens. It's like, oh, we're not sure. It's when we're not sure what we want at that time.
And we all got a good deal on Arks.
We did. Yeah, you all got a really good deal on it if you back during the Kickstarter. So.
Okay, so after the RFQ, so you send, what's next? Like, so 6 months goes by, we're now talking to the factory, it's time to start printing. What's going on then? Yeah,
so at that point, that's when our graphic design team, who at this point have been like, well, our whole creative team, but the graphic design team has been working on the print files, and so they will submit the print files to the factory. And before that, we'll have submitted any plastics or wood because those take longer than paper products. And then so the graphic design team, which is just Patty at the moment, will submit the files, and then we go through a pre-press thing with the factory, which usually isn't too bad. and we figure out any printing issues, which there's a lot of black ink in Arks, so we were having some issues getting just the right black that we wanted.
That is.
There are a lot of conversations about ink saturation.
I would have never thought that was, I knew we would have a discussion about black ink.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be like Pollyanna and assume, no, it's just black. But it was a fascinating conversation. It was nevertheless.
Yeah, there were a lot of conversations about black ink saturation, but we got it all figured out. It looks great. But there are a lot of samples of the box top that came through either through our printer or through the factory. And that's one of those things that at that time we figure out because we want to make sure that it looks nice when it actually gets printed. And so that's the whole process. And then we go through the process of what is called proofing. So pre-pressing those digital files. And then once we're like, yeah, that looks great, or like we're pretty happy with this, then we get what's called a pre-production copy or pre-production sample, a PPC. What we usually call it. And then we get that, and that comes to us, and then we take a look at it and make sure that everything's there that we wanted in it. So that like whatever we submitted as the RFQ is what we actually got from the factory.
And at this point, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's being run on large format printers. It's not on the actual printer yet.
Yeah, it's on a digital printer at that point. So final prints are generally done on what's called an offset lithography for my print nerds out there. But it's lithography is just a really high quality print way of printing, and it's what most games are done on. Final printing, but we only see digital before then.
And then the digital are then applied to materials. In a workshop. It's basically done by hand.
Yeah, it's done by hand. So your PPCs are done by hand. So there is like some fidelity, like that you do kind of have to look at it with the knowledge that it is not intended to be final. But it is more like it's a great way for us to look at content. We can, count all the componentry to make sure the counts are correct. We can look at the wood that's
cards
usually
sorted.
Cards are sorted. So like the card, if the card deck needs to be in a particular like order, you'll be able to see that they have it in that order. Also things like a tray, like you might get a sample of a tray that you need to make sure fits certain items. But yeah, everything's hand built, so there's only kind of so much you can do at PPC stage.
And then sometimes, rarely, we don't do it anymore. We used to be able to get a white copy.
So, white sample, yeah.
So it'd be everything built, shipped to you with maybe the meeples cut. Like I remember for Vast, it had all the meeples correctly, had the die that was done correctly. And then everything, it was like, here are the 5 player boards. Something's printed on them, it's just the player boards as a white piece of paper. Just so you can see how it's going to fit together in the box before they go to the PPC.
You can do white samples these days, especially with like the amount of stuff. Our little workshop upstairs. We don't really need to get them because we can just build them. But
back then, when I was a scrub,
it is something you can get from they'll offer a white copy a lot of the times.
Yeah. So post PPC, then it goes to lithograph offset printing.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah, at that point you are okaying for final production. So you would, if you had any like design changes, so like digital changes, so maybe you find a typo, you find an error, you find I think one of the things we found with Arks is we needed there was a card numbering error, so we fixed that because we caught it. So little things you might catch there, and you might catch like, oh, there's an error, or maybe you want something packed differently. And it gives that feedback, and then at that point, once you see like new proofs or whatever, or new samples if you want something different, then you would okay it for full production. And at that point, generally, you're going to give the factory money too. And be like, okay, now please make this in bulk.
Right.
And that is when the line production starts, and that can take, depending on what you're making, it can take generally about 45 to 90 days.
Yeah.
So.
How long does it take to print 30,000 copies of Root?
About 45 days.
Yeah.
It kind of depends. It depends on the wood. Because oftentimes wood and plastics are not made at the same factory that the printing is made at. So it really depends. And those are the slowest things. It's much faster to print stuff. So you're always waiting on the wood, and the wood could be like, okay, maybe we're behind somebody else. Maybe they're out of a particular color and they have to do something. So that can slow down.
It's ordered so far in advance, like sometimes. They'll be like, oh, there's one more cube than we needed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's okay. We'll just
Yeah.
ship it. No one cares. And then you get a ton of support questions. You're like, why do I have 16 cubes when it says 15?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you never want one thing. You never want component counts wrong on the back of the box or in your rule book because you will just
People will talk to you.
even if like it says 16 cubes and everybody gets 17, we will still get customer service emails. It's like just enjoy your free cube.
Just, yeah. I mean, Ticket to Ride always has an extra of everything, just in case you lose one. But yeah, so,
Yeah.
which is a good idea. Very cool. And then they put them on a boat and.
Yeah, so before they put them on a boat, we'll get what's called an MPC or a mass production copy. And this is generally the first off the line, off the packing line of the finished copies. And so we'll get those sent to us and then we will approve those. And basically, you cannot approve a mass production copy, but it is. You're going to delay your product. So unless there is like some large, truly egregious error, which would be like there's a complete and total miscount, or there's a miscount of componentry because that's going to be really terrible, or like there's a printing mishap or something. And a lot of times what happens is there's a small section of games that might have problems, but it's usually... I've never seen where it's been a whole entire line that hasn't been something that was actually technically like the people who submitted the file's fault. Like an error in a file is not a factory's fault.
Right.
But no, I have only seen something get pulled once, and it was a large, like licensing legal problem.
Sure.
And that wasn't with us. But no, it would have to be big to stop it at that point because like the machine is rolling, you're on the roller coaster, you can't just get off.
We'd have to be involved in licensing to have a licensing issue in the first place.
Yeah, we are the licensor most of the part.
Yep.
Yeah, and at that point, then once you approve it, then the rest of the production is done, and then they're all packed and put in cartons. And I do a lot of spreadsheets to tell people where to ship our stuff, and then it gets shipped to our different hubs across the world.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't come here looking for a copy because they're all somewhere else. So.
The copies?
Yes.
No, yeah. Well, the MPCs are here. Those are my
we
babies.
We don't keep any games here.
Those are my children. Yeah, but no, we don't keep stock here.
So.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, do you want to show us anything?
Yeah. Well, speaking of large children, I have with me.
Speaking of large children.
Large children.
Here at Leader Games.
Here it is. Here's the Arks campaign box. It's big. Here's our large child, as we've been calling it. I'll show you the back too. It looks great. Patty did such a great job on this box. And it looks great. You can actually see this red, which was one of the things that we really struggled with early on when we talked about that. But yeah, I can open it up for you guys and show you what's inside. We'll see if we can get that top-down camera. Look at that. There it is. Like centering. Yeah, it looks great. The cover art's really great. Kyle did a great job, as usual. But yeah, so
I like that Kyle.
I like that Kyle. He seems like a cool dude.
Yeah, he's cool.
All right, so of course you get this lovely piece of black foam.
I like Cole too.
Which was also the last thing. This was actually the last thing that we approved for the game was this piece of foam. And then on top, so you have these two trays. These will hold stuff for the campaign games, I believe, to set to like store your stuff between games. Talk about the different foams, Cole says. There were two foams. There's a white foam and a black foam, and we like the black foam better. Black foam got more votes. It was also a little thicker, and that's what we wanted.
Foam's a 4-letter word.
Foam is a 4-letter word.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, and so these trays, we'll take out the top for them. They also have the embossed numbers and then symbols on them too, so you'll be able to organize your stuff really nicely.
You want to eat out of these trays at your wedding.
Yeah, definitely do that. If you do, little petit fours in each one.
Yeah.
Very cute, very chic. And then we have the flagship boards here that stack 2 on 2. So these flagship boards.
I'm getting like butterflies.
I know.
It's so cool.
And then here is this is the rule book for the campaign, and then there are, and then these are the aid sheets for them. Like I said, it all kind of stacks on top modularly like this. And then here's the whole stacks punch. This one is actually unpunched because I didn't let anyone touch it. So this is all the punch, all these different things for the different campaign, the different characters that are in it. So these all get. So these are all sortable after you punch these out, and these are the different the card sorting pieces that go in between the cards here, so you can easily find different sections of cards. These cards are open, but sleeved. And then down here are the wood pieces for the. You don't want to see the little tasty snack. The wood pieces, so the flagship pieces, and then the purple, I think they're the blight.
Leader Games does not recommend you eat. They're not snacks.
Don't eat the snacks. Don't eat the silica gel. It's not a snack. Then you get a whole stack of plastic bags for sorting everything that's in here. And then these guys I love. These trays are so good. They fit really nicely into this taller well over here. I don't know if you can see, but this well is actually taller. And this is where all the pieces get sorted. So because the base game will actually fit here in the campaign box. So this will actually fit the campaign piece, the base pieces. So the resources will fit here on these little tiered stairs, so they're easy to pick up. And then these are the other pieces. So all the base game pieces can go in here. Mm-hmm. And then these are the player colored. These are for the players, so you can put your cards. So you put your cards in here to save your cards, and then also you can put your colored player pieces. And they come in matching colors for all those.
And then the second printing, this black tray will be white so that people know who had a first printing.
Oh, we could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Oh, it should have made, we did look at it making the tray in like a gold. Like, I think it was like a shimmery gold we were looking at or something. We were looking at making one of the trays that, but unfortunately in this particular kind of plastic, you can't do that.
No.
I tried. And then this is for the campaign. So it has the campaign dice. It also has the rules aid packed in here already. So this is for keeping the rules cards. So it unfolds like this, and you can keep your rules cards in here as you're playing. The rules may change for certain campaign stuff.
You can't see me. I'm not on camera right now, but I just swooned when Anne started unfurled it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was a fun thing to make, and yeah, that's a good one. Oh, and then over here is where you can keep these are the lore cards, which there's some in the base as well, and then the leaders and lore pack. This guy also has more lore cards that will also fit in this slot over here. Also, it has another silica packet. So many snacks. And then the campaign log, which is a flippy boy, as I call them. What's a glue pad? That's what it's called.
Yes.
You know, I should put flippy boys on
do the factories in China deal well with flippy boy.
As the person who's often, talks about how you should be very specific and non-colloquial when you write a spec sheet, I think flippy boy is the perfect thing. But yeah, and then it all fits back in here, and then and
your packy boy.
And my packy boy.
Yeah.
But
Do you want to take this over here so you can?
Yeah, here I'm just gonna show that the board fits in here as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's the base game, and the board will fit right here where the stack of punch board is. So once you are done with this large stack of punch and unpunch it, you can actually then fit the baseboard in here. Along with all the other stuff will fit. The cards will fit down in these wells. All the other materials will fit down here, and then you'll be able to fit like all the other things in this tray. So yeah, it all packs the base game. Also, Leaders and Lore and the minis pack will fit in there as well. So it should all fit, and it should all be pretty easy to take back out as well because all the cards are sorted out with these card pieces. Yeah, so that's our large sun that we worked on for so long. I hope you guys are really gonna like the setup that we made for you.
I like it.
Yeah, I do too.
I have to tell SP Shaman, my spouse and I plan amazing weddings. So,
Oh,
yeah, we can come plan your wedding. Our rate might be too high for you.
those. Oh no, that's base. Okay. Yeah. There you go.
It is so much value.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
There's
it's ridiculous.
there's so much stuff in this box.
I'm practically shipping money out of the company.
And it's not terribly heavy either, even though it's big. I think it's a little less than 8 pounds. So it's like just at 8 pounds. So it's not too bad.
The weight scored on BGG is literal, right?
Yeah. That's right. But as someone who, as a short person who has to get large boxes off of tall shelves sometimes, I appreciate.
That's right.
I appreciate, as someone who's accidentally dropped Twilight Imperium 4 on their face trying to get it off a high shelf, I appreciate a big box that doesn't actually weigh 40 pounds.
As I said, I tried walking on the Thunder Road in a trumpet today, and that was very heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, so there it is. I hope you guys liked getting a little sneak peek of what it looks like.
Am I getting mailed one? I'm excited to get
No, you don't get one.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, sorry.
That's fine. I'll just pick one up at a convention sometime. So, cool. Do you want to talk about Ahoy? Or you want to? We're kind of.
Yeah, I guess.
We're coming up on a 2:40, so we could we go to questions.
Yeah, let's take some questions.
And then the Q&A. All right.
Let's take some questions. Oh, get my piece
So
of
we
paper off the floor.
came prepared. I hope that wasn't too loud for you on the mics there.
Is it which one is it?
You folks always show excellent quality and good price to match. What games did you struggle with to strike the balance? Well, you weren't here for the real struggles, yeah. So I would say, of course, since Fast and Root are the same price and relatively the same components, but prices changed during that time.
Yes.
Root is a pretty good value. I think Root, everyone wins. We were able to sell it for enough that we we're excited when they leave the door. And I think the customer is getting a lot for it. Boy, that Oath, that was a... Pricing Oath was a long conversation.
Yeah, I missed that one. I think actually one thing when I first started was, I think either you or Ted were like, could you guess how much Oath was?
Yeah.
I think I got within $1.
Yeah.
And I was on one of those, I was like, yes. Yeah. But I was also I remember looking at it, because I hadn't seen it open. I had just seen the box before I started here. And I was like, oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's a struggle to strike a balance, but there's definitely been moments where I've been like, yeah, this is going to be tough. But for me, and it's, and I've been working on the mission statement lately, and I think one of the things I put in there is I always want people to feel excited when they open our stuff and to feel that wow. And even if the wow is a very simple gesture of here are the meeples, or here's the it's nothing fancy. I'm not gonna put anything chrome on my box, but I think it's really good for the consumer to open it up and they're gonna want to come back to us because we gave them a lot for a little bit, and in this world that's important.
Yeah, and I can say in general that balance is something that I think is important to us between price and quality, and not just talking about production quality of componentry, but the creative quality of a game as well, the overall. And I think that's something where we definitely have a lot of conversations about the balance of the pricing and what we're giving people for that price, and also what our consumers expect for that. And I think it's very important in those conversations. It comes out as we think we want to make games that are good value, but are good games. We just want good games.
We just want good games. and that's why we don't overpublish. So.
Yes. Yeah, that's part of it.
And then, like on the Verve side, we had Black, and which I was working on last summer. And I think, like there was a question of, can we land this game still? And then there was a question of, can we make this game still?
Yeah.
And because Black was going to require 62-inch wood cubes.
It was a lot of material. Yeah.
And like we were like, at the price we got, I was like, even if we cut this down to 1.5-inch cubes, which would change the game's look quite a bit.
Yeah.
We're, if you know geometry, we're only saving half the cost on the wood.
Yeah.
And it was still a lot.
Yeah, it was still a lot. It was, unfortunately, like, the vision of the game required so much physical material, and that was, unfortunately, the volume of the material was, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just not going to work.
A little expansive, but...
Yeah, so... And there's ways we could have done it, but it just wouldn't have looked as cool. So I was like, let's set it down for now, and we'll think about it later, so...
Yep.
Good question.
I still think about it, so...
Oh, good. That's good.
It's still rattling around in my brain.
Well, you can tell Alita to get back. Alita's take over development. No more design. Alita's producing the show, in case anyone's curious who I'm talking to. All right. Favorite game piece produced to date?
The giant raccoon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm referring to the actual raccoon, of course. Yeah. I like the root meeples a lot.
I love the root meeples, and I feel like they're very iconic.
Yes.
I feel like.
I think you could show this outline or that outline somewhere, and people would identify, a gamer would identify with it.
I think very much so, and even like the colors too, are very identifiable. Yeah. Kind of a great show. Yeah. I brought my favorite piece, but I'll tell you what it is. I had nothing to do with this piece, but I just love it. It's the little crab claw mollusk union meeple from Ahoy. It's the little ship. I'm not sure what the ship is called, but I love this thing with its little crab claw in the front. It's really adorable.
Can't see it. We're gonna have to really zoom in here to get the.
Yeah, there it is. Maybe you can see him.
You're doing it.
Yeah, now you can see my horrible handwriting. But yeah, this guy, I love it so much. It's a really cute shape. And I just love this little crab claw. It looks like it's going to grab you. I think it's very cool.
All right. That's good. How long does it take to usually develop a root expansion from start of the project to Kickstarter campaign and from that to finished product?
Oh, wow.
Wait, this has been a topic of conversation.
Yeah, it has been.
So, gosh, I mean, Cole, you can definitely weigh in here as a response. I think about, and like so for Marauder, I had material designed. Some of it was in my notes from when we started Root, and some of it was in my notes from like sketches I'd made. Not sketches, but I just throw a faction out on DG and be like, here's something that maybe we'll do in the future. And so like that's years, right? Because that was years of that. But like I think honestly, like probably about 6 months of full-time design work, 4 to 6 months full-time design work from the start. Like, and I'm talking about like now you've collected all your ideas, and now it's really time to sit down as your full-time job and work on Root. And then probably about 9 months after the Kickstarter, I would say, is probably 9 months to 12 months. It's a pretty reasonable timeline because we're talking. We got to wrap up playtesting. We do public playtesting. We have to do art. We have to do layout. We have to do editing, and then just the factory takes months also. So it can be a long haul. And I think we've talked that we have established we're working on one, right? I think that was during the last chat. Yeah. So,
I think we've talked.
Yeah. So we are definitely working on one right now, I've seen the outline. I haven't seen the product yet. So, but it's definitely been a very recent conversation for us. How long it's going to take? What's your approach to sustainability in production? It seems like Earthborn Rangers has set up the standard in Czech Games Edition. Has a really interesting debut of Rewood, which we've looked at.
Yeah, we have looked at it.
Rewood,
I've seen it.
Curious what advancements in the spaces will we see coming up. So I, like, for my money, or for, like what I'll say is, I would love to get more involved in these things. Of course, I can always pay lip service, like that. I almost said root service, lip service, about what we're gonna do. But I think, like, it's just the costs have just been so high up until now that it's been hard to engage with that space.
Yeah.
And it's risky in a way that it's just a risk I wasn't willing to take yet. So, but Earthborn Rangers came in a little bit scrappier and was able to pull it off. So, and congratulations to them. I think it's fantastic they did it. So, do you want to talk about sustainability a little bit, or?
Yeah, I can talk about it a little bit.
I didn't even talk about it a lot. But.
Yeah, I mean, let me tell you, I can talk about a lot of feelings. But I do want to say that, like, Earthborn Games really did some interesting stuff. It was also, I know that it was a really big thing for Andrew at the very beginning of the Earthborn folks, kind of like part of their ethos. And so I think it was something that was very foremost in their mind when they started that. And I think for a lot of companies that you see doing really interesting, sustainable stuff in the space, that's very true of a lot of them, where that's something they've really decided to focus on in their production pipeline, which I love. Also I know that he ran into a lot of challenges trying to get more eco-sustainably doing domestic production and stuff. And like that's just part of a larger sort of global supply chain issue. That's not just our industry. And the same thing, like Czech Games with the Rewood product was a product that was outside the board game space, and then they brought it into the space. And it is a reclaimed, recycled wood product. I'm not sure how recyclable it is post-consumer, like the Rewood itself, but it is made of recycled materials. With us, like something I've been looking into is actually changing our paper sourcing, which is something I'm looking into and I'm thinking about for us, because we also print on a scale that's pretty large,
right. And
that means we have to have the availability of those materials, and that can be difficult sometimes in the space, just because of the challenges of printing nowadays. But it's something that I think a lot about. It's something that I would like us to do, is to be more sustainable, but it also definitely would be a price increase on our end. So it'd be something that we would be paying more for the games that we make. And that's a big financial decision that doesn't just affect me. That's the whole company, that's people's, salaries, that's lots of different things. So it's something we have to consider carefully.
Yeah, we're kind of in a weird middle, I think, because we are not large enough. Like, if not a newspaper, he uses a lot of paper anymore, but if a large company, if Target said, we need a sustainable box for this furniture line, the flat pack box that this comes in needs to be made from a sustainable material, that's at a volume probably 2 zeros, probably 3 zeros on that. That's much larger than us, and that's going to drive the technology or the supply chain development that's going to be required to make that sort of paper cheaper for us. Yeah. And so Earthborn Rangers made the gamble that as a smaller project with a smaller team, they would accept the headaches of doing that. So we're in the middle of we can't accept the risk that we wouldn't have paper available. Yeah. But also we're not in the millions of units, and we can't change policy. So yes, we keep an eye on it. We do price it, but I think we're doing the best we can right now.
And we use recycled materials already. We use some recycled plastics. It's called rPET. And a lot of paper materials are already recycled. So like chipboard, which is like punchboard, and like the boxes they already use recycled material. So it's already there. It's just trying to make more steps to use recycled material, for example, for certified, which is like where that paper came from, which can have some advantages. But for plastics and for dice, it's like there's not great alternatives at the moment that also have the standards that are our consumers and our customers in the board game space are used to. So it's like having that same fidelity and material. And maybe that'll change as it goes, and I'm very interested in seeing it, and I'm interested in seeing stuff and trying stuff out, and I'm always looking at new components, but yeah, it's kind of trying to ride that line of what our production line can accept, and then what's available, and what changes we can make.
On the flip side, using, like Root uses only one plastic component, and the trees for the paper and the trees for the meeples they can be farmed. So that's renewable in that sense. And I just know that like some of the plastic and some of the metal production in the game industry is it's not just what's in the box. There's a lot of waste being created from that. So, so you got to be careful about that. Cole said it looks like I'm about right on the timeline for Root. And then Ahoy we'll have a comparable timeline. It appears. So thanks, Cole. All right, so that's sustainability production. I would love to be able to get more engaged with it, but I'm doing what I can right now.
Yeah, it's also an interesting thing I would say. Like Earthborn very much is a recent company, and they started out that way. For me, if I was going to like change paper, and this is like we're now past 10 printings of Roots. Yeah, I need to make sure that everything that I print in this new paper matches anything that comes before it, and so it's a way bigger risk to like make that change. So like I've been thinking about it for Root, and I'm getting some sampling, but it's it's a much I don't want to suddenly cause a problem for us or consumers if like now their cards don't match, and that's not something we want to do. So so it'd be more likely when we came out with a new product that we would, if we made significant changes, we would probably do something along that lines. And we also don't use a lot of plastics anyways, so yeah that's my like. If I want to do a miniature dungeon crawler, I'm like, maybe I'll still use meeples anyway. Just to be nice. Can we see the questions you've aggregated, Alita?
Figured this one might be interested to talk about.
Will the resin clearing markers ever be in stock in North America? We've talked about this very recently, haven't we?
We did talk about this recently. So this actually,
it's starting to tick enough boxes for demand that I'm like thinking I need to move on it, but I can't.
So I think we've talked about reprinting them. We've also talked about redoing them. As I know that the resin is not my favorite material. It can be very fragile, and it can be difficult to produce or take a while to produce. So there is a possibility there. It's something we're thinking about. We're talking about what's going on with those, but we haven't made a decision yet. And we might have clearing markers again, but maybe they're in a different material, or maybe we just print the same thing again. It's just we've been talking a lot about it, but we haven't made a decision on what that looks like yet. But we know it's something that people are interested in.
Yeah, we at one point with Root, before Anne came along and his streamlined a lot of these processes, it was like we just have so much product that we have to reprint constantly. Yeah. That we kind of were like, let's trim anything that's purely cosmetic for the time. But maybe, and I definitely I would say if we were doing a kind of a Root finale for Kickstarter, I'd be like, well, now let's do them as an add-on, like an add-on here, so that people can get one last crack at them. The material was kind of a tough call. So I've been working with resin miniatures occasionally lately, and they're so brittle. So.
Yeah, that's the real problem with them, which it becomes for us when I think about that as a production person. I'm thinking about that as okay, how many customer service reports will we get about that? So that's one reason why I don't love it as a material. But as Cole pointed on the chat, making it distinct from our wooden tokens, that is something we could think about. So there's different stuff we could do. I don't think we've sat down.
We'll make it from carrot sticks.
Ooh, that sounds great. What about a Lego crossover?
Yeah, there you go.
This was in relation to Arks.
How are the dice being... So I know the context is, how are the dice being made for Arks?
Oh, the dice are they are plastic die. They are
How do you make dice?
how do you make dice?
Yeah.
So most dice are injection molded. So these are all custom dice. So they have like custom symbols on them. So custom mold is made for us. And then they are generally injected molded. So when hot plastic is shot into a mold. Then they get painted. So the little kind of looks engraved, but it's actually molded, and then that gets painted. And so there's 3 different colored dice. Or like the attack dice that are in the base game. And so those are all 3 different colors, and so they're all different colors, and I think they all have white on them if I remember. And then there's dice in the campaign game as well.
So I'm curious now, how many dice does the mold support?
Depends on the size of the die, depends on the complexity of the die, and it depends on the machine.
Right.
So it has a lot of different things.
For us, how many, do you know?
For us, I'm not sure how many, so it's called how many shots it takes. So let's say, shot. So if you have like 400 dice, how many times do you have to like fill that machine to get to 400? So if you can shoot like 100 dice at once, then you're going to have to run that machine 4 times. If you shoot 40, you have to run that 10 times. So, don't check my math, it's bad. So that's what you have to think about sometimes. With dice, it's not as big a deal because I know it's a large number and they're generally pretty quick. They're also all the same and they're not what we call parted, so you don't have to ever like put 2 parts together for a die.
You don't have to glue a dragon head.
Yeah, you don't have to like glue a head or put a little arm or give a guy an axe, like you might with a miniature. But yeah, dice are actually pretty simple in general. Even like a simple molded engraved die, even if it has like a swirled plastic, it's just they put in like 2 colors of beads. Yeah. Because it like comes in like little pellets. And then like pip dice, most of the time for pip dice, it's just a regular pip dice mold. Yeah. Like you can customize it. But they're pretty standard, and dice are pretty standardly sized. So 8 millimeters, I believe, is what the standard sizing for most dice is. I can't remember, but it's 8. I
thought it was 16.
No, it is 16. You're right. 8 is for tokens. This is called. I haven't looked at a spec sheet in 2 weeks. But yeah, so there's like standard dice sizes. So a lot of times, if you want like a pip dice, which the pips are the little dots on it, that's what it's called, pip dice. You can actually just get like an off-the-shelf mold and just get custom colors put in it. But for us, these are all custom dice, so they all are our own designs on each of the faces.
All right. Thank you. Next question. Any chance of being an Arks puzzle? I don't know. I mean, we can do that. That is something that's in the realm of possibility.
Can we get a puzzle? Puzzles are very easy to produce. Yeah. You submit 2 box backs and an image for the puzzle, and that's it. It's very easy. But as a puzzler, finding the right like piece for a puzzle can sometimes be difficult. So our art pieces aren't set up to be puzzles. Yeah. They're set up to kind of have these big voids in them because we need to have text. So if we did it without the text, it'd have a big text void. Or we could do it with the text.
Everyone kind of released puzzles at the same time too, and so I have no idea what the sales data on that with puzzle is, but
no, I don't know.
I mean, that would be a purely business decision if we can even afford to do another puzzle. So, I mean, I don't think we lost money on it, but just for the time, you gotta justify that time too.
Yeah, it's also like we kind of say when we talk about like accessory products a lot, like we're not a puzzle company.
Yeah, we're not a puzzle company. We're not an animation studio. We're not a puzzle company.
But I do like puzzles, so maybe.
Yeah, I think that root cover, that base root cover, even without the animals, just the tree and the
I think it'd be cute with the animals.
And you take off the logos. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think even with the logo, it'd be cute. All right. Because I know as a puzzler, you find all those logo, you'd be able to build the logo together. I always do puzzles with my large family, so I always think about one person could do this section, another person could be doing this section.
We used to do them, but now we do Lego kits. All right. What else is?
What is your process for developing a concept into a game?
Yeah, what is your process, Anne, for developing a concept? I think that's probably also a fair question to me. So
My process for developing a concept for a game is let Cole do it.
Yeah.
Let Cole and Patrick and Nick do it.
Yeah, I think maybe that could just be a whole episode that Cole and I could do next time. But since we're running a little low on time, I will definitely tweet about the process this afternoon. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. And then can we replace the M with the cat meeple in the Leader Games logo?
Look, you are welcome to print out stickers of that and do that at any time.
I might do that.
Yeah.
I'll print out those stickers and then run around conventions putting little cat meeples on.
Yeah.
That would be cute. I'm really fond of that M though, and the way that the logo looks. So
It is a very good logo.
It's a very good logo. That was my dear brother-in-law Topher McCulloch put that together for us, and he went back to his alma mater and gave a speech about how his career developed, and he said, "It's funny because one of the most seen things I ever made as a graphic designer, I spent probably the least amount of time on."
It always is. It's always the thing that you like slapdash off as the thing that everyone likes, and you're like, why have I spent all this time?
Yeah, no, he's a good sport about it. So, all right. Anything else after that, Alita?
That's it.
That's
All right.
it. Well, that seems like a good time to wrap up, and Cole and I can definitely talk about if I'm on the next one. I think we're actually going to continue going around the studio in the future, but next time maybe we can do a special game development thing. And that might be a good thing to do. Is Opus starts growing into a more formalized project, we could kind of tackle that as maybe Matt and I can film some of it and talk about how the process has been working. So maybe not when I'm crying, but during some of the more triumphant moments. So, all right.
All right.
Thanks everybody.
Bye, folks.